notations that I'm aware of. And then for public comments, is there anyone that wishes to address the commission about an item on the agenda that they aren't already scheduled to speak? All right, I will take this then to the consent calendar. I'll entertain action on the consent calendar.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Robin.
I move we approve the consent calendar as written.
It's been moved to approve the consent calendar. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ramirez. Is there any discussion? Would the secretary call the roll?
Alvid?
Yes.
Ramirez?
Yes.
Hopper?
Yes.
Porter?
Yes.
Warwick? Yes. Wagner?
Yes.
Okay. Takes us to old business. Mr. Fultz, you're here for our economic development report.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to share with you some of the activity we've had over the past month. I continue to work with North Ranch Development, as you're aware, on the north side of 2026 between aviation and Wayne and Speed Parkway. Engineering and Public Works have been doing a tremendous job in working with Ball Venture Outquest on the development of that piece of property. There is a number of potential clients right now lined up, both on the commercial, retail / office end, as well as the potential for some industrial uses at that site. So just for your information, some of the scheduled appointments. The annexation of that site and the rezoning went through the hearing examiner last month and was has been set up to the City Council for final approval. With the, again, the rezone, they're looking at a commercial zoning type, really along that 2026 corridor, and then on the north end, they're looking at a M1 zoning with the development agreement on certain setback requirements and berms and such to act as a buffer, if you will, for the residential. So I believe that's on the agenda for the 22nd of the City Council's agenda coming up later this month. So things continue to move very favorably in seeing that area, that 114 acres developed. Of that 114, a little over 90 acres will be, if approved, zoned for that M1 and remaining into a commercial zone. Project Prometheus has been on the list for a while. It was very, very hot, and then became very cold, and now it's medium warm, if we may. So it's still an active project that is being considered. They have eliminated, they were looking at 9 communities initially. They narrowed it down to 5 communities. The Boise area is one of the 5 communities being considered, and at this point, I think all 4 sites that were submitted are still under consideration, with Caldwell having one of those 4 sites within the Treasure Valley, of course. Project Scope is another one that we've worked with BVA on, Ball Venture Outquest on, and that was a potential distribution facility, about 250,000 square feet is what they were looking at. So we'll continue to work with our representatives from Ball Venture Outquest on that particular issue. Northwest Sandpiper, I believe it came from Idaho Commerce on a business expansion and manufacturing distribution center. Once again, we had shared sites that was including North Ranch and Sky Ranch area for that particular lead, and we'll continue to monitor that one. Project Equip, new 260,000 square foot project in Sky Ranch. We're working with a developer. That would be a spec building that would be developed and constructed that would be visible, or if we had a potential single user, they would allow for that. We've actually provided information about this particular project to several business leads that have been through the state and through the Boise Valley Economic Partnership Group as well. So we'll continue to work with the developer to see if we can make that happen. Wolf Development, they were the group about the Van Ocker site on Challenger Way. We continue to work with them on their 87,000 square foot building. It's near completion. They have 2 potential tenants right now that would occupy the entire 87,000, I believe, would occupy that. We're continuing to work with they and our legal department, on an airport lease of, I think it's about 3 acres that we're looking at for a lay-down yard area. Douglas Waterman, from Mr. Hilty's office has been working with us on that. I received just a notice from them, late this afternoon that, they're in essence wanting us to kind of as quickly as we can, go back to the drawing board and see if we can work out something that would work, and satisfy those tenants. Right now, we're in a situation where it's a non-aeronautical, use, we can only go up to a 5-year lease, and we're looking at, their tenants are looking for opportunity for an extended lease, which again, we're dealing with some issues under FAA regulations that's going to limit us to that. So, we'll do our very best to accommodate them as best we can legally, and, again, like I said, staying within the parameters set by FAA on these, Project K, as a new industrial lead from Oregon, I've met with them, I've had some discussions with them. It's a smaller project, probably 25,000 square feet, highly interested in the Sky Ranch area. We've submitted some general information to them on activities in and around the park. They're looking at the Sky Ranch Business Park Center area, not necessarily in Sky Ranch, but within that area. So we're working closely with them, and I think we would, there's potential we could actually make an announcement on that probably within the next 30 to 60 days, so that's very, very promising to us. Project West Coast CAM is one that has absorbed a great deal of my time and effort, and again, I applaud our partnerships that we have in putting together a packet of information to submit to their site selector. Again, our Public Works, our city engineer, along with our partners at Idaho Power, Intermountain Gas, Idaho Commerce, Labor, Workforce Development Center, anybody and everybody that we thought might help and assist us through this. They've been there, and they've been very, very good at helping us. City planning, a number of others. In fact, it was one of those where I said, guys, normally you know me and I'm a fairly nice guy. Probably won't be so for the next 2 weeks since we're putting this information together, but they did bear with me, and they were very patient. But document that we submitted was, I thought, it's a thorough presentation that I've seen in 35 years of doing economic development. So we should hear if this is a project that's going to choose us probably within the next week and a half or 2 weeks. So fingers crossed, we're hoping for the best on that one. That could be a very dynamic project for this community. Project Robin, an industrial lead, and actually that was a lead that came to us from, I think, 3 different sources. So we're looking at 15 plus acres, 50,000 square foot building, expandable up to 200,000. Some of the sites that have been considered include the Eisenberg site in Sky Ranch, the North Ranch area, and the John Lottie property that is at the corner of Aviation and 2026. That would be their 30-some acre, potentially there at the southeast corner of that intersection. So we'll continue to work with those leads. Continue working with Treasure Valley Community College on their E&P program. It's my understanding there was a group that went through, I don't know, Rob, if you were with them today or if that was Brad, but there was a group that went through today looking at that. I did speak with Kim Tompkinson, who is the director of the Caldwell site. They've got an aircraft, I think, that has already been donated. They're getting everything lined up, and so we're in the process of negotiating with these to get that program off the ground. Sorry. And last item I have is the Innovation Center, which we continue to have discussions. We had a fairly serious discussion with the Southwest Federal Manufacturers Alliance regarding the Innovation Center in the month of August. SWEMA, Southwest Federal Manufacturers Alliance, is soon to become the Idaho Manufacturers Alliance, as they are evolving to a statewide organization that would be based right here in our area. Actually, I'm trying to recruit them to locate their office at the State Caldwell office. I think there's potential to do that. So anyway, things continue to work smoothly, I think, on that, although a little too slowly for my liking, but it is still moving in a forward direction. So with that, stand for any questions you might have about the project that I presented.
Questions from Mr. Paul?
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Jenkins.
Chairman, commissioners, or should I say friends. So first on my list is public art. So we're working on a public art program here with the city of Caldwell. Jerome Matt has been very helpful in this process. He's in planning and zoning, either planning and zoning director. He has a few contacts in Boise we've been working with, and working with the city of McCall as well, to kind of pattern our program after what they've done. So they have some robust programs out there, and we're just trying to put something together that will lay out the details, that will allow us to have a public art program that we're all proud of. So it's in draft form now, and we're continuing to add on to it. We have a meeting with Boise, the city of Boise, and their public art committee. So more information to come on that, but just know that the draft is in the works, and we're hoping to solidify details by next month. I'm working with Rocky Mountain Companies, that you all may know, but they own the land off of 21st in Chicago. They're hoping to develop a C-store and a car wash at that site. So they've asked for some additional information related to the growth here in Caldwell, which I provided to them as they finalize their plans for that development. So things are still moving forward, and we're hopeful that they get it going here soon, but it looks very promising for them to develop in the very near future. I have it on my list. I'm just going to mention this really quickly. Ideal Demolition Services, Dave and Christine are here tonight in the audience. And they are on the agenda here next, so I won't take up too much time, but just want to say that they're very well respected in our community. This referral was passed along by TJ Franz in our engineering department, and told me to take good care of it because they work with the utmost professionalism, and they've done a great job within the city, so just want to throw that out there. I'm also working with NeighborWorks. They're a nonprofit housing development group out of Boise, and I had spoken about them in the past, but now they're back in town. They've identified some land in Sky Ranch. They're hoping to develop a pocket neighborhood. So we're working with them. They're going through the details of financing and all the elements related to the build out, but things are still moving on that one. So it's good to know that they found some land that may work for them for their project. Project Gator is a fast casual franchise. They're looking in Caldwell. They're considering a location downtown. They were actually in town last week, had a very good meeting with them, and they are very enthusiastic about Caldwell. I'm hoping to make this their second location in the valley. So good things ahead on that one. They are moving forward. It says on my notes, quarter two, they're actually looking at quarter one for their development. Project Pellet, they're a large retailer seeking a retail location, distribution center, and corporate headquarters in Caldwell. They are also considered the Sky Ranch area. So as you all can see, there's a trend here with Sky Ranch. Industrial land is a premium. We're going to continue to push Sky Ranch, and things are moving quickly. So it's good to see that there's still quite a bit of momentum in that area. Exhibition League, Baseball League, I'm working with their president and a potential team owner to develop a team. They were hoping to develop a team in 2021. It looks more realistic for them to develop a team in 2022. As we go through our due diligence and our lease options with Woodfield and everything else, our partners involved in the community, it's just going to take more time than we had hoped for. So still working with them, and it's still moving, but it doesn't look like we'll have a team in the near future, but 2022 looks promising. And then Amano, the owner wants to add patio seating along 7th Avenue, and as business has shifted throughout this pandemic, I felt it was a really good idea to get that going with outdoor seating, and he's looking to do it on a more permanent basis, so we've been working with our department as well as planning and zoning to get the details in line for that process. And then Extreme Pizza, they're hoping to open the last week of September. More realistically, though, they probably will open the first or second week of October. They're trying to make a strong push. Spoke with the franchisee a few weeks ago, and things are moving along, but gosh, it's tough during the pandemic to open when you need to. So they are moving as quickly as they can, but they're hoping to open very, very shortly. So be on the lookout for that. And then just a quick update, our Built in Caldwell blog has returned. We're internally trying to promote our manufacturers here in town to highlight some of the business groups that are doing some phenomenal things in our community. And we're also doing it with Kickstart Caldwell with our spotlighting. And we've gone through the list and kind of getting down to all the participants that are in Kickstart Caldwell, so that we can identify them and acknowledge the businesses that are affiliated with the program. And with that, that is all I have, unless you have any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Maybe you want to let us through this week. That doesn't mean go longer next time either. So on Project Gator, you mentioned quarter one, so are they looking to go into an existing building then?
They are. they are looking for them to go downtown.
And I did have some questions on the demolition services, but I know we have that on new business, so just say that, yeah. Thank you.
Steve, I just was curious, do you have any idea when McDonald's is gonna start clearing that lot or anything?
I may defer to Rob, who's been in frequent communication with them.
I heard spring.
Oh, that long? Okay, I was hoping sooner, but thank you. So,
Yeah, I sent a few chicken nugget commercials, I'm ready for them to come to town as well.
yeah.
I think we have asked them to clean up the lot a little bit, so.
Yeah, as an entryway into town is not a bad one.
Not a good thing, no. Any other questions, Mr. Gilbert? I think we could go for about 30 seconds. Go to, the next action item, which is to consider the acceptance of the letter of intent from ID Management Services to purchase property owned by 221 Linden Street. Mr. Hilty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, good evening, Commissioners. I probably will defer not only to Steve Jenkins, but also to David Christina, who are here, the owners of the business. If you have questions about what exactly they're doing, what their plans are, and so forth. From a procedural standpoint, you have the letter of intent in front of you. If this looks good, then the next step would be to create a formal purchase and sale agreement, which should be back before you in the next meeting for approval. So in the intervening month, we would be negotiating that with David and Christina along the terms outlined in the letter of intent or whatever other instruction you have for us. So with that said, I probably best have them come up, and if you've got questions about what they propose to do or build or how they're going to help with our economic development. So yeah, come on up, guys.
Good evening.
Hi.
Well, we're on Field Demolition, and we take care of a lot of buildings here.
Appreciate that.
We actually just came from Moon, the restaurant across the street. Mexican restaurant? Mono, yeah, there you go. We were talking about it. We took care of all the buildings right across the street from it. I remember used to going in there drinking coffee. I went there today, I was not a coffee place anymore. It just changes overnight. We're very excited to come into your city, to bring our business here. And, I mean, I'm not much of words here, but we're just very, very excited to come into your city and put our corporate office here for the future of my kids. We're a family-owned business. We're small right now, but we're getting bigger. Just like we arrived here in Idaho 15 years ago.
Well, I'm biased, but you couldn't choose a better community than to do this in, so that's okay. I guess one question I have for you, and I don't know how far along we are in the planning process for this, but have you had a red carpet meeting with our team on what you plan to do and what the requirements might look like?
No, we haven't.
We haven't started anything. We've been talking to Steve.
Yeah.
That's the part we got.
I don't know if it's premature to do that, but it's something that we probably would be good for you to just see before you sign on with some dotted line. You know, here's the road improvements and things that are gonna have to go along as we develop. So, just to make sure it's all, everybody's eyes wide open on what's there. But, yeah. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Wagner, I knew you did.
Yes, I do. Thank you for being here, by the way. And I do have a question. I know the area very well. We'll be neighbors if you do end up going out there, and they're right next door. Not right next door, right next door. And I'm glad to hear, I know when I first saw demolition services, I'm like, oh man, what? Are we gonna have a bunch of demo? But I'm glad you explained your business. I remember what it is. I was thinking vehicles at first, like wrecking yard. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? So, maybe just a little bit more, description of what, I know when reading it sounds like corporate headquarters or some warehousing. So just kind of, maybe a little bit more description of what exactly you envision that property to be.
Yeah, the 8.2 acres there. Right now, we sit on 3.5 acres where I'm at right now. And realistically, it's 3,000 square foot office, which I'm gonna make it bigger, so it's 5,000 for the office itself. The shop itself will be for my trucks to get serviced, for my equipment to get serviced. And the other piece of land, which will take 3 acres to have for ideal demolition, and the other 5 acres of it. The future will be making warehouses and leasing them out. I don't need all the land, I just need 3.5 acres for it. And we'll be leasing the other acreage, making more warehouses in the future. Now, we are in the demolition industry, and like you said, big cars and all that. No. I learned a long time ago, I don't bring nothing home. Okay? Because when you start accumulating stuff, it sits there. And we don't do that. We sell it at the job site, just like we did the buildings here for you. We sold all the lumber, we sold most of the brick, we sold the steel, we sold the copper, we sold the aluminum. Everything gets sold at the job. It's very rare that I take stuff to the, back at home, because I'm using it myself. Other than that, it does not go back. I don't want to see it there. So it's not going to be an eyesore. My building is going to be a very nice building. I have a nice building now, it'll be nicer. It's going to be asphalt, gravel, it's really, I'm imagining a very nice building.
And I'm just gonna echo the sentiment from the chairman, to that roundtable, or that roundtable meeting. I used to be the planner in the city, and I actually did this project when it was rezoned, so I know there's a lot of extra requirements, conditions on this property that we wouldn't have, so just make sure you're aware of those, there's extra setbacks and, keeping things like that, so to make sure you do that, because those sometimes can catch you by surprise when there's additional stuff, so make sure you do that, sit down with them, they're pretty good, almost as good as when I was there, but they're still pretty good.
And we're at the all conditions that the road is all that. And I heard a roundabout a few years from now.
I'll let Mr. Jones.
Yeah,
we originally were planning for a roundabout, we're kind of rethinking it a little bit based on what the traffic's gonna look like in that community.
Correct, and after we've gone back and looked at that, we were planning a roundabout there, and an additional roundabout at Ward. And the Ward roundabout is still being designed. The one at KCID may not be installed, it may just be a conventional stop sign, because we're not expecting a significant amount of traffic coming down that way, so maybe not, but we don't know yet for sure.
Yeah, Mr. Alvin?
I just want to know where's your offices now, where are you?
Right now, we're located in Emmett.
Oh, are you?
Right off the highway.
Okay.
County, there's a industrial park right off 52, and that's what we're in.
Okay. Well, hope you come call.
Very good. Any other questions? Okay, so the action before us would be, to consider whether we accept the LOI and ask our attorneys to go forward with figuring out what a purchase agreement might look like.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we do accept the, LOI as described and shown on action, or new business item number one.
And move to, accept the letter of intent and instruct legal, to move forward. And second by Ms. Walden. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Got your letter approved? That's your guy now. Thanks, guys. You got it. Oh, wait, this is gonna be great. All right, that takes us, to a resolution, action item to consider a resolution authorizing the execution of a license and agreement for limited maintenance with Muscle Construction for the Causeway and Cleveland event.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a pretty straightforward agreement. Mike Mussel, who, as you all know, is the selected developer, signed the DDA for the renovation of the Gateway Event Center. He approached me, actually ran into him in an event on the plaza. And he said he'd been in the building, he started to kind of map it out, he's got some ideas and so forth. Well, he identified several places where the property is not weathertight. And he's concerned about there being some kind of dilapidation during as we get into winter time. And simply asked if he could have access to go, and talking about some painting and some caulking, some roof repairs, some masonry repairs, and so forth. As you know, he's had significant experience with old buildings, and he run into situations where once water starts to get in, they can deteriorate very rapidly. And so he'd like to get in this fall before it starts to rain and snow and get that done. So, I told him, you know, first of all, thanks, right? Because regardless of whether this thing works out or not, the agency should be able to protect its investment. And so it led to this agreement that I put together, and I tried to characterize, you know, the definition of work fairly broadly so that he can get in there and do what he needs to do. And certainly we didn't want to micromanage it, particularly because he's the one's going to wind up buying it. He's also paying for it, assuming that this progresses and we get the property closed, and we are moving in that direction. I can talk a little bit more about that during the attorney update on this item. But I also felt like it was fair to have a reimbursement provision in the event that for whatever reason that deal doesn't go forward. Because it's a maintenance issue for an agency on piece of property, and I thought that was reasonable. We capped it at $10,000. In speaking with him on the phone, he was kind of pushing up, maybe it should be a little bit more. I think he intends to maybe do some doors and windows. And I said, this follows on our economic meeting this morning, I said, well, look, extent you're getting into doors and windows, and painting, and repointing, you know, concrete and stuff, that's not just weatherproofing, that's sort of project development, you know, and that's okay if you want to start that now, but that's all going to be on your dime. He understood that. So he has signed this agreement and submitted this afternoon, so Matt, the clerk, has a copy of it that's ready to go if you approve it. That's my report on this item. I take any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Hilton? I will just add, Mr. Hilton, having walked through that building a couple of times myself, that it is in need of some buttoning up and some protection, and very minimal, because there's not a lot there in some places, so it does need a little bit of reasonable amount. Any other questions for Mr. Hilton? Okay, so we don't have to do that. It's changed. So this is a resolution of the Urban Renewal Agency of the City of Caldwell for execution of their license and agreement for limited maintenance with Muscle Construction for real estate property located at 711 Woodland Boulevard, Caldwell. And does anybody want to see the details of the license agreement? It's pretty much as Mr. Wilkie described it. If not, I would entertain a motion for adoption of the resolution. So moved by Mr. Allgood, seconded by Mr. Porter. Any further discussion?
Just real quick, is it different than, Mr. Chairman, is it different than the one we got in the packet, what we got in your hands?
I think this one, wasn't the same, okay. So there wasn't any, okay, all right. Then I stand corrected, this one wasn't in your packet. Would the Secretary call the roll?
Alden,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Hopper,
Yes.
Warwick. Yes. Porter,
Yes.
Ramirez.
Yes.
Okay, that resolution is approved. That takes us to the next action item, which is a resolution authorizing the execution of an amendment to order consulting improvements with Keller Associates, associated with scope of work for the North Ranch area, in the amount of $3,800. Mr. McDonald has this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. This is a simple amendment to the agreement for Keller and Associates, who are doing the design for the road network in the North Ranch Business Park area. And what this is really is a revision or an amendment to the contract, simply because after the contract was originally put together, we received a traffic impact study, which recommended that SME be a 5-lane road between Highway 2026 and Moeller, leading up right up there along the RV park. And then after Moeller, then it goes back down to a 3-lane, as it was originally intended, to serve the schools up there. And we felt like this was probably a good idea with the amount of traffic the schools are going to generate and the business park. And so this amendment accommodates the redesign of SME for that portion.
Any questions for Mr. McDonald? And then that case, if there is no further discussion, I would entertain a motion for disposition of the resolution, allowing for that increase.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ramirez and second by Mr. Alkins to approve the resolution. The resolution is a resolution of the Urban Renewal Agency of the City of Caldwell, Idaho, approving and authorizing the execution of amendment number 1 to the owner consultant agreement with Teller Associates for the design of the North Ranch area improvements in the amount of $3,800 and adding 1 calendar day to the project completion schedule. Any further discussion? Secretary call the roll, please.
Ramirez,
Yes.
Hopper,
Yes.
Porter,
Yes.
Warwick. Yes. Wagner,
Yes.
Alkins.
Yes.
Okay, that takes us to our invoices for September, official.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioners, we have before you tonight a request to approve $716,117.80 in invoices for the following items. Our economic development support is $18,000. Our legal fees for $5,940. Our premium for fiscal year 21, half that premium was ice cream for $5,069. A reimbursement to the city of Caldwell for some final property acquisition costs related to the Pretty property, as well as to the Crown Over property for some relocation costs. And then some projects that are winding up with the city of Caldwell and Urban Renewal for $659,432.40. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Any questions from Ms. Mitchell?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell, on those final City Caldwell projects, can you give us just an overview of what those consist of?
Those projects are for some, a little bit of work being done out at North Ranch on that road that Mr. McDonald just spoke about. There's some final costs for utilities over here on the Kimball property, some repairs and utilities over the other Kimball properties that are under the development agreement. And I think it's some final wrap-up work with the 500 lateral.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion then for approval of the invoices for September. Moved by Mr. Wagner. Second by Mr. Porter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now, treasurer's report.
Okay, thank you. Chairman, Commissioners, tonight you have before you the reconciliation. So we'll start in that shaded box and we'll work from the bottom up. So you have in total $15,265,396.89 in 3 accounts. One account is with LGIP for $116,199.05. Banner Bank CD at $250,380.49. And then your operating account with Banner Bank of $14,898,817.35. The Banner Bank operating account breaks down into the following categories. Your taxing districts, which are restricted to projects, for $11,326,113.05. The Caldwell projects of $2,137,189.92. Our rental income from TDCC at $723,245.86. And then the land account at $712,268.52. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Questions on the treasurer's report? Entertain a motion for discussion of the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Porter for approval of the treasurer's report. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Wagner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we get to Mr. Hilton for a while. Somebody's keeping busy.
Indeed, thank you, Mr. Chairman, I'll be brief. We're talking a little bit about muscle construction, the renovation of the Cleveland Event Center. They'll start, I think, right away with the project you authorized tonight, weatherproofing. But I did talk with Mr. Muscle this afternoon, and we agreed the next step is to move forward with the reuse appraisal. And that requires him to put together a bunch of economic information about what he's going to invest in the renovation of the building. And then the appraisal appraiser determines a reasonable rate of return, as you know, and they try to determine a land value or a purchase price from that process, for the reuse appraisal. We'll get started on that, now. The other thing that we'll need to do is, you recall, the old car lot on the corner of Lane and Kimball is part of this project. It's currently owned by, Rick Wells, and the agency has an option to buy it on a 30-day notice at any time. And so we'll be looking at exercising that here in the near future to coordinate the transition of that property with, the broader project, the broader sale, transfer of the property to Muscle Construction. That'll take place sometime this fall, I'm guessing, late October, early November, closing. So that's, again, kind of the next steps there. He's anxious to get the property transferred and get going. So that's all going well. Site A Brewing, we received back last week the executed, development agreement. That had been, you had approved it, I think it was August. Yeah, so we just got it back last week. So they've been hanging out there, on the other side for 3 weeks, and I started getting a little bit nervous. I had Steve Bolt's call his Site A Brewing friend, no, we're still fully engaged. Since that came in, I got a phone call from Jeff Worrell, their attorney. He wants to get together and talk about next steps, on that project as well, which is likely to also be a reuse appraisal process. Creekside Development, I had hoped to have a better, update for you tonight. The mayor and I had a telephone conference with Dean Pepe, who is the principal of the Chase Mix, the developer that we're working with on that. I reported to you last month on the results of the, hotel study. So they are cautiously optimistic, but they need to go back to the drawing board, as you know, for their purposes and for our purposes. I was hopeful that we would have an update tonight. I think that's probably not quite ready. What's likely to happen here in the next month is, that they would have something that they would present to the economic development team. I think that's the way that our due diligence agreement with them works. And then the team would have kind of the first cut to let them know whether we think that this is consistent with changes that need to be made, again, which came, in significant part from this agency. And then at some point it would be presented, either formally or informally, and by that I mean they may just come and show you how it's revised and some input. But at some point there would be an approval process for designs, because the agency retains design review approval on whatever it is that they construct. So whether we can get that done between now and October, I don't know, but one way or another, we'll have a presentation, as I say, formal or informal, so that you can see where they are. One of the things that we remain mindful of is there has been some other interest on that property, and it was discussed this morning at the economic development team meeting, that if this isn't going forward, we need to know that sooner rather than later, so that we can get another RFP out of this, how this thing is going to go. So just so you're aware, that's the way that I intend to speak with them. Again, last spoke to them, they had the report back, they had done their due diligence, they were going back to design. So the meeting that they were going to spend money on redesign, a new feasibility study, and they were certainly still moving forward. So that's the latest I have on that. Lastly, as you know, we're pursuing a new urban renewal area, versus the same one that we attempted to have approved last year off of that exit 26. We had, and LJ Wade's been engaged. LJ will be the one that does the heavy lifting on the feasibility study that's required by the statute on that. We met last week or the week before to kind of look at, is this going to be exactly the same or is it going to change? It's going to change a little bit. One of the fundamental ways it's going to change, we're going to have some property added to it that has come up for sale relatively recently. So there's farm ground out there that was outside of the original footprint we were looking at with adjacent owners ready to sell and looking for redevelopment of that property. And so logically makes sense for everybody to include that in the area. And so that's going to create a change to the project. It's going to create, some changes to the feasibility study. So we're trying to get kind of our hands around that. the timing is to be ready to go forward, in January or February with the county. So we're working toward that, that goal. Right now, we're still trying to figure out, there's kind of a set of dominoes. What does your area look like, and then what does that mean for projects, and then what does that mean for cost, and what does that mean for feasibility, and we're kind of in that process. So, those are my updates for tonight. I certainly see any questions.
Questions, Mr. Hill? Good job. Takes us to the chairman's report. I think, Mr. Hilty and company cut you off, they have anything I know, so I don't really have anything to add to that, except that, it is nice to see the downtown a little more alive than it has been, and I think it's really, poised for when everybody's, back on board and comfortable and things starts to go away from the ball and keep going along. Any other commissioners with anything they want to add? Mr. Wagner?
Real quick, I don't understand we should make on the order, but I just had to stop last month, when I was home and doing that, I told me to help bring it up to see it. I'm still the new guy, he has a lot more smarter.
We'll put you in your place, though.
That's right. But, and the thought was with the economic development activity report, because I know that a lot of those projects are very big time, a lot of them, and I know a lot of the same kind of month of the month. Is there any thought maybe staggering, or maybe they don't have to come every month? Steve, young Steve comes one month, and old Steve comes the next month.
Older.
But I don't know, if that's a thought, you know, because I hate them to come and spend their evenings here, and then maybe we could be doing something else.
It was forced them to talk to each other.
They don't even sit next to each other anymore. They're at least 6 feet apart. But anyway, just a thought I had, I don't know if that's ever been considered, or what their thoughts are, or your thoughts are, maybe that can make their time more efficient.
I'm open to either direction. I know, we did do that a little bit when Terry was on board with the economic development, it was a trade-off a little bit, but often when it got into any details about one project or another, they weren't, it was somebody else's primary question, they wanted to answer the question. So it's whatever you guys want to work out. I agree, life is too short to spend, every Monday now.
Rob needs to be here on Rob's not getting out of it, I like Steve's better.
That's a good discussion, we should,
We'll have discussion, we'll see, thank you.
anyone else have anything to add? I guess we do have a little bit of an executive session, work to do tonight, so I'm going to take a motion to enter into an executive session pursuant to Idaho Code, section 74206, subsection C, for the purpose of discussing the acquisition or interest in real property owned by a corporation. Moved by Ms. Warwick, second by Mr. Porter. Any discussion? Will the secretary call roll?
Warwick?
Yes.
Wagner?
Yes.
Albrecht?
Yes.
Ramirez?
Yes.
Hopper?
Yes.
Porter?
Yes.
Okay, we are in executive session. Thank you all.
Goodbye.
Oh, I have such compliment.
We ran each other that one, yeah, we're at the gym, yeah.
Yeah, I need that voice, the way it was on my own.
I was there, yeah. When you get old. Catch up, so that's when I'm still yeah. So, yeah, I'm getting there. Yeah, good to see you. Just want to say hello.